All right, it is 6:30, so I'd like to call this meeting to order. We do have a quorum of the board. This meeting of the Seguin Independent School District has been duly called, and notice of this meeting has been posted in accordance with the Texas Opens Meeting Act, Section 551.043 of the Texas Government Code. Mr. Guetta is going to lead us in our pledges this evening.
Of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. On the Texas flag, I pledge allegiance to the Texas, one state, under God, one indivisible.
I'll give us a bit of time for a moment of silence. Okay, we're going to move right into our agenda. We're going to start off with the superintendent announcements.
Good evening. We are now 7 days into the new school year, and I am excited to have our students and staff back. Last week I had the opportunity to visit each campus and can confidently report that we have had a smooth transition from summer break back to school. All of the credit goes to our students, their families, and our campus staff, transportation, child nutrition, and maintenance staff for a successful start to the new school year. Tomorrow evening at 5, I will host a virtual town hall meeting. I will review COVID trends as shared with us by the county and GRMC and provide an overview of what our upcoming intercession days will look like for students and parents. The login information for the webinar is at seguinisd.net. Also, tomorrow at 6:30 p.m., the Seguin Booster Club is hosting the annual Meet the Matadors event at Matador Stadium. All are welcome to this free community event to see the members of our cross-country volleyball and football teams. Matador Volleyball hosts the annual Matador Classic tournament on Friday and Saturday. The varsity's team first game in the tournament is at 11 a.m. on Friday in Goldie Harris Gym. The tournament never fails to showcase some of the best volleyball in our region. Our opening day for the 2021 Matador football season is Friday as we host San Antonio TAC. This will be Craig Daly's first game as our head coach, so I encourage the Seguin community to come and support our student athletes, band, cheer, dance, ROTC, and more. The health and safety of our students and staff remains our top priority in our schools. Rather than share a COVID update at this time, Ms. Biddings will provide us with an update later in tonight's meeting. Thank you, and remember, it's a great day to be a Matador.
All right, thank you, Dr. Gutierrez. Next up in our agenda is our community recognitions, or staff, or students for the board. And so I'm going to turn it back over to Dr. Gutierrez. He has a Superintendent Apple Award that we'd like to give out this evening.
The recipient of the August 2021 Apple Award is no stranger to our school district. In fact, his tenure with Seguin ISD is likely one of the longest on record. Ball Early Childhood Center is a beautiful school thanks to his efforts. He was a hard worker and took great pride in making sure that he took care of the campus. In fact, he took pride in all of his roles within Seguin ISD, which spanned a career of 45 years. He served as a positive male role model for some of our little matadors at Ball, often having a talk with them and checking in on them. He remains active in the community through his involvement with the Seguin High School track and field team. As a recent retiree, we honored him at the Retirement and Service Award banquet last spring. Tonight, it is a pleasure to honor him again with the Apple Award for his many years of service and dedication to our school district. Let's hear it for our former Ball Early Childhood Center custodian, Mr. Jeffrey Copeland.
That is a very special and well-deserved award. Thank you for all of the years of service to Seguin ISD. Take all those hugs and hands. All right, moving on in our agenda, next item is item 3, which is an information item. Ms. Nikki Biddings is going to update us on COVID-19 protocol.
Madam President, Board of Trustees, and Dr. Biddings, good evening. Just wanted to give you a little update as to where we are with our COVID-19 protocols. We discussed quite a bit at our board retreat, but just wanted to let you know we are continuing daily contact with our nurses and administration and discussing events we're going on each campus. We, as Dr. Biddings mentioned, we have a weekly meeting with the Guadalupe County ISD that we have virtual. And we are continuing to see a steady stream. Currently, right now, and I'll say as of 8/23, what we do is update it daily. We give the campuses enough time to update their information. And currently, right now, we have 49 student positive cases and 8 staff. And this is effective as of August the 16th, which is the first day of school. As you know, we currently are not allowing visitors on campus. We will continue to keep an eye on that. Keep everyone abreast of that information. Our protocols as far as cleaning, continuing best practices, whether it's COVID or not, we are continuing with that. We have had generous donations from Office Depot, Walmart, and H-E-B on hand sanitizers and our disinfecting wipes, and we appreciate that. And at any time, if there is a positive case on the campus or the main office, whether it's a staff or a student, the campus parents are notified on daily basis. So, is there anything in particular that you have questions about at this time?
What day of the week is it when you visit with the county?
On Wednesday.
On Wednesday.
Tomorrow morning, 7:30 a.m.
So our last report was last Wednesday.
Yes, ma'am. These numbers are ours. Yes, ma'am. These are our numbers. Seguin ISD.
And that's August
16th, yes, ma'am. And as you watch that's on the webpage, you'll notice when someone comes off quarantine, you'll see that number go right there. And different tests there. So, yes, sir.
So out of those 49, how many did we actually test using our kits here at the school district?
How many have actually tested here?
Using the kits that we got from the state?
I do not know exactly how many, but as far as we do, if anyone comes in that has symptoms or feels, we do test them. And I can get that report for you.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Ms. Biddings, how many, do we keep track of how many people were affected that have been vaccinated versus unvaccinated?
As far as the students and the staff, as far as if they are the staff members, there's a part that they fill out if by some chance they are vaccinated or not. When they become positive.
Is that information broken down from just
I don't see it on the screen or in front of me, and folks at home might not know. Is it broken down by elementary and secondary, the
Well,
numbers?
No, ma'am, it just says staff and students. I think it's people, so staff and students.
Is there any way we could, I'm just wondering if there's any correlation between, kind of to piggyback off of Carl, between vaccinated and unvaccinated, if mask wearing is happening, if any of that is helping.
I think with the students, we're not able to identify whether they've been vaccinated or not. Even with staff, we're not able to identify whether they've been vaccinated or not unless there is a reason that they need to go out on leave, because one of the qualifying factors is, in order to get the district paid leave, is that you have been vaccinated. So at that moment, then we're able to identify whether that staff member has been vaccinated or not. There's still a lot of legal questions surrounding a school district's ability to get that information from staff, so that's the challenge there. I'm not sure if things will change now that it has been FDA approved, so we're still waiting on further guidance from the state and the Texas Education Agency. As far as identifying mask wearing, what we are not asking is that's an additional demand that we don't want to place on our teachers or even administrators in tracking. Sometimes, when you're in an elementary setting, self-contained classroom, it's easier. We had one campus, we had a student that came to school, was COVID positive. That student was wearing a mask, so that did provide some comfort to the parents in that classroom. When a situation like that happens, we have the ability to offer testing to those students with parents' permission to determine whether or not they're going to stay in school. It's because there's not a mask mandate, it really makes things difficult in tracking, and there's a lot of inconsistencies with students because the parents may tell them they're required to wear a mask, but then they get to school and they wear it, maybe they don't wear it, they wear it 50% of the time, and they're not wearing it consistently. So it does make things rather difficult when you're trying to determine whether someone has been exposed or not.
Thank you.
Whereas last year, when everyone was wearing masks, that was a critical factor in identifying whether someone was considered to be exposed.
I appreciate you addressing that. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Is there a way to find out the 49 students, are they concentrated in one school rather than another? Is there a reason why we don't report that?
We just do it for staff as far as separating them in that way. We have not divided it up by the campus. We just haven't.
It's understandable
Yes.
that the larger the campus, probably the larger the
Yes,
number.
ma'am.
Right, and I think if you were to just look at it by campus, there's not anything right now that currently stands out. Obviously, the high school's going to stand out. They have almost 2,100 kids, so they're gonna have more cases. So we made that determination last year as some districts were deciding to post by campus. We made the decision just to post an overall number for the district because we do a really good job of communicating with our families when there are COVID cases. However, that is something that can change should we start to see some trends that maybe look different on one side of the district versus the other side or at a particular campus. Moving forward, it's just something that we continue to watch and monitor every day. But right now, it's almost evenly distributed, those 49 cases throughout the district.
Do you know how that compares with the second week of school last year?
No, I have not looked into that.
It's about a week in one day.
We can admit, yes.
I couldn't even guess.
I would just like to add that it would be a good idea to break it down by campus moving forward. Last year was, this year, obviously, maybe I think the younger ones are getting more impacted compared to
you seen any other, school districts do the same thing we're doing here, and are we in line with what they're doing, or,
As far as the protocol,
I don't know, as far as how many people tested positive and so forth?
there's quite a few that didn't start until this week, so I really haven't looked besides our own county, Guadalupe County, so I can't exactly look the other ones. We're probably too close to go back to school until this week, as some of the other ones.
But when I was just curious and looked at some surrounding districts later this afternoon, and yeah, they might have 250 current cases, but when you look at their size, they're 3-4 times our size. So right now, in neighboring areas that are posting their current cases, we're pretty comparable to where they are, and I just happened to look at that a few hours ago, so there's not any, we don't stand out at the moment. But what we are seeing, and what we have been seeing since school started, is that our cases are increasing every single day.
I know working in Austin, here, of course, they're nowhere near the size as our district. But Leander, I believe, Leander and or Georgetown are breaking it down by campus, and they put it on the website so parents can see it.
Any other questions? I just want everybody out there and everybody online to know that we are monitoring this situation. Dr. Gutierrez and Ms. Fittings and the rest of the team, it weighs very heavy on us every single day. So we're keeping a very close eye on it, and we'll see how it all develops. Thank you. Thank you. All right, next up on our agenda is audience with the board, which is when we designated time for audience participation. We did not have anyone sign up this evening. Item number 5 is closed session, and we will not be going into closed session this evening. So we're going to continue on to item number 7, which are our consent agenda items. And Mr. Jenkins, you're going to help me with this. You're going to start at N. Okay. Yes. All right, so BE policy states a consent agenda item shall include items of a routine and or recurring nature grouped together on one action item. All such items shall be acted upon by one vote without separate discussion unless a board member requests that an item be withdrawn for individual consideration. The remaining items shall be adopted under a single motion and vote as applicable. Item A, approval of the board minutes of the regular meeting, July 27th, 2021, and the board retreat, August 14th, 2021. Item B, approval of tax collection reports for July 2021. Item C, approval of donations received July 2021. Item D, approval of district-wide facilities maintenance, electrical equipment, parts, and services, which is RFP number 2104. Item E, approval of district-wide special education service, which is RFP 2105. Item F, the 2021-2022 Student Code of Conduct. Item G, the extracurricular activity listing for 2021 through 2022. Item H, the county extension agents as adjunct staff members. Item I, approval of credit by exam dates for 2021-2022. Item J, consideration of approval of certified appraisers for 2021-2022. Item K, information regarding the purchase of produce for Seguin ISD from Hardee's Fresh Foods through the Texas 20 Purchasing Co-op. Item L, information regarding the purchase of Chromebooks for Seguin ISD from GTS Technology Solutions through the DIR Purchasing Co-op. Item M, information regarding the purchase of paper and plastic products for Seguin ISD from Gulf Coast Paper Company, Inc. through the Texas 20 Purchasing Co-op.
Item N, information regarding the purchase of bread products for Seguin ISD from the Purchasing Company through the Texas 20 Purchasing Cooperative. Item 7O, information regarding the purchase of iPads and iMacs for Seguin ISD from Apple through the DIR Purchasing Cooperative. Item P, information regarding the purchase of hotspots for Seguin ISD, CDWG through the Omnia Partners Purchasing Cooperative. Item Q, information regarding the purchase of staple food products for Seguin ISD from Lot Food Services LLC through the Texas 20 Purchasing Cooperative. Item R, information regarding the purchase of milk products for Seguin ISD from New Dairy Holdings Company LLC through the Texas 20 Purchasing Cooperative. Item S, information regarding the purchase of the Financial and Human Resource System Software as a Service, SaaS, for the Seguin Independent School District from Tyler Technologies to the Sourcewell Purchasing Cooperative. Item T, information regarding the purchase of professional development for Seguin ISD from Houghton Mifflin Harcourt through the 2013 Purchasing Cooperative. Item U, information regarding the purchase of a copier lease and maintenance agreement for Seguin ISD from Toshiba Business Solutions through the DIR Purchasing Cooperative. Item B, information regarding the purchase of a Panorama platform license for district-wide use from Panorama Education Incorporated to the Choice Partners Purchasing Cooperative. Item W, personnel action, professional employees. Item X, acknowledge Public Information Act request July through August 2021.
Right, and most of those are things that we see at this time of year, each year. In addition, quite a few items that, things that we need to get this school year running. So do any of the trustees want to pull any of those items for individual consideration? All right, if not, do I hear a motion for approval? Thank you, Ms. Duncan has made a motion to approve the consent agenda items. A second, Mr. Amador. No further questions? Everyone in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 7-0. All right, moving into our action items. First up, we have item 8A, and it is in regards to diffuse or diffuse. I don't know that word, diffuse. Certain obligations, extinguishing the district's payment obligations with respect to are there to the time of, okay. You're just gonna have to, I don't know this word, would you please define it for me?
President, and as members of the board, Dr. Gutierrez. President, members of the board, Dr. Gutierrez. Yes, the word defeasance is not one that we use every day, but the concept is not foreign to you. Basically, what we have here is an opportunity for the school district to keep the INS tax rate level from the prior year at 38.5 cents. Doing that, there are two things that we all need to keep in mind. A, in 2021, the district, with voter approval, sold additional school bonds to the tune of $30 million. When we sold those bonds, the district had the authorization to impose an additional 2.5 cents, up to an additional 2.5 cents on the INS tax rate. But because of the interest rates at the time when we sold those bonds, we did not need to increase the INS tax rate by that additional 2.5 cents, which is great news. But couple that with the fact that there's been property growth in the area, and we'll speak to that maybe a little bit more in the next agenda item. But with that added property valuation growth in the area, even the rate as it stands right now at 38.5 cents is going to generate excess collections above what we need for next year's debt service. So you have two options. The first option is to lower the tax rate, and that on its surface may seem like a great thing to do. However, the maximum you'd be able to really drop the rate would be just right at a penny, 1 penny on that current rate. Conversely, what you could do and what our financial advisors recommend that you choose to do is go ahead and accept those additional collections, but use those collections for the purpose of early redemption of debt, paying off debt early. Now we'll be able to do that with that 1 cent. It does a couple of things. It stabilizes the rate. We don't drop it. We don't worry about the rate needing to go up and down based on property values. We stabilize it. Now, of course, if the rate needed to go up a significant amount or down a significant amount because of property values, we have no opportunity really to stabilize it. But in this case, it's so close. Leaving it the way it is and defeasing debt or paying debt off early, what that does for the district is not only pay off debt early, but save the taxpayers a minimum of $15,000 worth of interest that we would otherwise have to use future dollars to pay. There are 2 outstanding obligations right now that we will attack with the additional collections. We're estimating those additional collections, as it mentions in there. Well, I'm not sure if it mentions it in the actual resolution. I'll explain it. We're anticipating the excess collections to be somewhere between $1 million and $2 million. And there is a lot that plays into that. That's why there's such a disparity in that range. A lot of it has to do with property valuations that are under protest that can impact your ability to collect a certain amount and things of that nature. But conservatively speaking, at the $1 million rate, we would be able to pay off a year early on our 2010 series bonds. There's one payment left at $725,000 of principal on that. We would still have some residual funds available that could be used to buy down the remainder of a 2013 series that's outstanding. Now, those are refundings. Those are not new issues, so that may be why those series sound unfamiliar to you. Those were refunding years. So the defeasance resolution has to be approved by the school board first before we can ask you to adopt the tax rate. So that's why this resolution is before you now. With all of that said, one thing I'd also like to mention is that each of you are familiar with our financial advisor, Mr. Victor Quiroga. Works with us very closely on these analytics and many others. An individual that you may not know, but he is in attendance tonight, is Mr. Clay Benford, and he represents the firm of McCall, Parkhurst, and Horton LLP. It's a legal firm that has had a long history with, especially Mr. Benford, a long history with Seguin ISD on the backside of all of these legal documents. And he is here with us this evening. And I just wanted to take a moment to recognize his efforts along with those of Victor Quiroga. He's an attorney and he's a little bit shy, so I say that's okay. If you have any questions for him, I'm sure he'd be happy to answer them. But that's the agenda. I hope that answers some questions. Be happy to field any others if you have.
So defease basically means to pay off our debt early.
Yes.
And that is a really good thing. Yes.
Absolutely.
Do you have any
Would
questions?
you like Mr. Benford to speak to that a little bit? I'm sure he can
I appreciate
do it quite eloquently.
Thank you, Mr. Hilberg. Clay Benford with the firm of McCall, Parkhurst, and Horton. Yes, ma'am. Defeasance is essentially taking money that you have and putting it into an escrow fund to pay off debt. Immediately at the time of deposit, you extinguish the debt and it's no longer your responsibility. So you have all those interest savings on a go-forward basis. We're doing a bunch of these across the state right now because of the property values and people taking advantage to eliminate their interest rate or their interest expenses to the benefit of the taxpayers. And it is a very effective tool in order to advance repay your debt. You do have to adopt this resolution in advance of the adoption of your tax rate. And the reason for that is because your INS tax rate can only be the amount necessary to pay your debt. So we advance the debt payment into the current year so that the total payment of what was already scheduled to be paid plus the new accelerated payment will provide the basis for your ad valorem tax rate or your INS portion of the tax rate. And so that's the reason for the sequencing and also the requirement to approve it at this point in time. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer. I congratulate you on the beautiful facilities that we were able to help you with in the elections in the past. They look fantastic. I do remember one of the things when I was here is the number of exterior doors prior to the new high school that we had to secure. And so I know that is certainly beneficial to the district and the students. Thank you for having me. If you have any questions, I'm at your disposal. Thank you.
Are there any questions? No. Okay, if not, do I hear a motion to approve this resolution? Mr. Jenkins? Okay, I have a motion from Mr. Jenkins. Do I have a second? Second from Mr. Amador. No further questions? All in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 7-0. Thank you. Thank you for coming this evening. All right, next up is item 8A, which is to adopt the tax rate for 2021.
Very good. So we've discussed a good portion of this already, but what really bears mentioning at this point is the fact that the overall tax rate will go down significantly. As noted there, the overall rate for next year will be $1.28.46 or 1.2846 cents. That's a significant reduction, 7 cent, almost 8 cent reduction in the tax rate. And that is with leaving the INS rate the same. And of course, the state mandates the INS or the M&O rate. And the reason why you're seeing an M&O rate that is slightly different than what we projected in our budget meeting earlier this year is because once the certified values come in from our local appraisal district, we submit that information to the state, and then they run the analytics and tell us what the new compressed rate will be. Well, that compressed rate ended up being much higher compression or a lower rate. The M&O rate is now lower than what we anticipated originally, and that is because of the growth that we're seeing in the area. One of the things that's often a little bit of misunderstanding that can take place when it comes to property value growth that needs to be understood is when we are looking at an entire area of growth valuation, you are not only looking at property value growth to existing structures. And so yes, there has been some valuation increase on our individual homes and our individual businesses. In fact, it's been higher than we've seen in prior years in that regard. But that is hardly where the largest amount of growth is. The largest amount of growth is coming from your industrial as well as significantly, especially for Seguin ISD, is your inventory of residential properties. Residential property inventory constitutes properties that the builder has in inventory either ready to be sold or they are sold and no one's occupying them at the moment. So those inventories are one of the highest growth areas for the local valuations for Seguin ISD, and that's good news as far as our outlook for the future goes.
Do we have any questions for Mr. Hilbert?
I have a question. Wasn't it a few years ago that the total tax rate was 141?
We could look at that on the website. We have them on the business department website. It was close to that. I believe that you just look at the business department and that middle tab there. And scroll down and you can see on the far left there all of the rates as they've scaled over the course of the last several years. Since I don't have glasses on, I can't see that very well, but I think we were pushing $1.41 at one point. Right. 42.
All right, if there are no further questions, do I hear a motion to adopt the tax rate as presented?
Madam President,
Yes, sir.
I move that we adopt the resolution, adopt the order setting the tax rate for 2021.
Thank you, Mr. Guerra. Second from Ms. Crittenden. Any further questions? All in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed, same sign. This is good news. Thank you. All right, moving on to item 8C, which is the possible adoption of a resolution for the assignment of fund balance.
Yes, and so we had some discussion about this at the last board meeting. There's been a lot of discussion about the need for design of a softball, baseball complex. And as you know, the design, the idea of design has been approved, but the funding for it has not. So we have some estimates on what we anticipate the cost being for the actual facility. And with that, what we'd like to go ahead and do now with your approval is to set aside fund balance for the purpose of that design and go ahead and get the design team actually formalizing those complex designs.
Any questions? Oh, very quiet this evening. All right, do I hear a motion to adopt the resolution for the assignment of fund balance as presented? Okay, thank you, Ms. Marina. Do I hear a second? Mr. Amador seconded. There are no further questions? All in favor, raise your right hand. Pose same sign, motion carries 7-0. Moving on to 8D, which is connected to this, which is consideration and approval of design services for the baseball and softball fields.
Yes, technicality here, we want to make sure that we identify the individuals that have made some adjustments in terms of where they work, but that's not going to completely remove the relationship Seguin ISD has with the current design team of Fluger. We're very happy with their services. However, with PV Group as an associate with Fluger in past projects, their locale is a big part of it. They have a representation here on site virtually all the time. Many of you will recognize the name Mr. Florin Popa. He's here in the audience this evening. But we would like to migrate the design services so that he would take the lead under this firm, PV Group. So it's a slight adjustment to what was previously approved, but the same individual would be doing the work.
Are there any? Ms. Duncan has made a motion. Do I hear a second? Mr. Jenkins, all right. No further questions? You have a question? Okay. All in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 7-0. All right. Item 8E is consideration of possible action, including adoption resolution approving the negotiation of the sale of real property of the Sager Middle School tennis courts and maintenance buildings.
And I'll go ahead and start us off on this. If you have any questions, Mr. Bill Lewis is actually the one that has done the legwork on this transaction. But what I can tell you is the city of Seguin has expressed an interest in this portion of the facility, which, if you're familiar with it, it's in disrepair, to say the least. The tennis courts are not usable, and what we term as the Mountain Street maintenance warehouse, or the old maintenance warehouse, is out there. And if you've seen those facilities, you realize why we say they're in disrepair. That's an understatement. But I think the city has some things that they want to do with it, and we have an opportunity to possibly use those proceeds for the purpose of assisting us with the softball complex, or the things that might be necessary getting prepared for that complex.
Are there any questions? Mr. Jenkins?
So what does the city propose to do with the property?
Mr. Lewis, you want to speak to that for us?
Yeah, I can't speak for the city exactly, but I do know that they want to use it for their parks and recs programs, and provide some additional services or spaces for other recreational items that they don't have the current space for. The third pickleball come up in. But I can't speak and make a statement for the city of exactly what they're going to do.
I guess my concern is that it's a prime piece of real estate, and if you take it off the market and sell it to the city, we're not getting tax money from it anymore. And is it something that we're going to go through a bid process through real estate, but they have to?
So I mean, it's not on the tax rolls right now, and so when it goes to the city, it's still a public entity. However, city has to pay a fair market value price for it.
Right, so we're going to listen to a real estate agent and have the people.
We were not going to go through the bid process for the city, because we can pass it on to another public entity as long as they're paying fair market value. And not can't undersell it.
You may get more out of it if you put it in real estate.
It's possible.
That's a prime piece of real estate.
So we feel like the valuation that has been given to us through a realtor and through an appraisal, recent appraisal, we're getting a pretty good price for it. So we're getting more than the appraisal price.
May get more. The real estate market's very hot here right now.
It is an option. It will extend the process if we want to go to a good process.
I think we should.
We'll take our direction. We direct Dr. Gutierrez to look at that.
As an aside, Burgess is now generating tax revenue. So that's helping us out to some degree, whereas before it wasn't. I'd like to hear now, well, not now, but eventually about maybe yours.
Although, would this help our negotiations with the city in the future on future projects?
I think our relationship with the city is great, so I don't think this is going to damage or improve anything. It's just a piece of property that we had that was being unused that pretty much needs to be raised completely in order to do something on it. It's not big enough for us to place anything on, but to use, and the city had a good idea and a good plan. Something that municipalities do for each other.
And
For the benefit of this community.
it's not part of anything else you're working on that,
No, it's straight up sell to the city.
and the fair market price or the price that the city is willing to pay is?
We're still negotiating, so I really
Oh, okay.
don't want to give that out, especially if we get other direction of people to change that. I don't want to give away a price that's to somebody.
Well, since it is so close to the school, which is occupied, as well as the gym, which is still used, correct? I prefer that it go into the hands of an entity that is going to be working with us for the students.
And that is an advantage, that way we control who has the property, and it doesn't go into some sort of other type of use that could get zoned there and be closer to the school.
Is there an opportunity for us to then use the facility for programming?
Depending on what it ends up being, but there's nothing, the city's very open for us for facility use, and I don't see any reason why not, that would not allow us to use that space, if it's public space, if they have, if they own it.
Any further questions? Denise?
I just want to see, Mr. Lewis, can you point out like what to what on there? Is it the whole city block and which buildings?
So it's this entire block that you see squared in right here, the old maintenance facility, unusable buildings. They have to be torn down. These are tennis courts. The surfaces are not usable at this point. And then this is like a blacktop surface area that we can use for different things like parking.
I have a good point. I agree with Mr. Jenkins' idea. I guess one of the risks would be we won't be able to control who purchases that building.
Well, you do. If you don't have to accept any bids, regardless of what they are. So the other side of that is we could end up getting less for it if we take the bids. So we put it up for bid, and we don't have to accept them, but trying to turn around and sell it to somebody for more could be problematic. I'm not willing to pay.
I like the idea of parks and recreation. And I know our kids and our families will benefit from that. And that's a place that I know a lot of us that attended Sacred.
Right. I was thinking that too. And part of maybe their master plan, if I'm thinking of what you were saying about those courts are true, then maybe it won't take more tax dollars to build those type of courts, ultimately saving us money, those of us who live in the city limits. And then maybe that money can be used on other recreational facilities, which would be nice. That maybe in the future we can partner with them. So I see it as a win-win for us. But I totally get what you're saying too, Mr. Jenkins, but I think that, I like it.
They'll at least get an evaluation from the real estate agent since they're more familiar with the.
Yeah, and we've talked to Mr. Anders, and he's done comparable lot sales and told us what we could get, and we believe that the price we're working with the city on is very much in our favor as far as comp prices for that piece of property.
And right across from there, the gym, the old gym at Seguin, is that being used for this? Okay.
Well, right now, it's being used for storage as we're transitioning furniture in and out of campuses in HAB. But they, in usual use, it's leased, rented, or leased, and then the school uses the facility as well. It does get leased out. We don't have warehouse space or lots of space at this point. Space for the Erskine and that gym. So we use it right now to stage items that we're trying to do. That we sell off. HAB, as we bring in the new FF&E furniture starting in March. With those spaces become ready, the school will start transitioning or take a step back. Gotta have a stage in place, you gotta sell it. It's a long process for getting rid of it.
So the students don't use it as a gym?
They usually do. Right now, we've had everything kind of pushed off. Half of it's pretty much just storage at this point.
Thank you.
What I think, I just want to summarize what we're hearing is we see this as a mutually beneficial partnership with the city and the conversations that we've been having with the city. And I think where the board would feel comfortable is that this would align with their plans to continue to expand parks and recreational opportunities for this community. And that in this way, it's pretty much controlled what would be going there versus fitting it up and running a risk of having not really knowing what could go there and not really knowing what we could generate as well. I just think we would need to, as we continue to move forward with the city, is making sure that this continues to be aligned with the conversations that have been had with them as far as the purpose for this tract of land.
All right, if there are no further questions, do I hear a motion from one of the trustees? Okay.
I was trying to find the most.
Okay, this would be to approve the resolution approving the negotiation of the sale of real property and improvements located at 418 West Mountain Street, commonly known as Saybrook Middle School tennis courts and maintenance buildings. So I have a motion from Ms. Crittenden and a second from Ms. Duncan. Any further questions? Not all in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed, same sign. Okay, motion carries 7-0. No? Oh, you were opposition? Okay, 6-1. Dan, I couldn't really see what you were doing. Were you voting in favor? You're opposed? Okay, let's do this again. All in favor, raise your right hand really high so I can see it. Okay, opposed, same sign. The motion passes 4-3. All right, thank you. All right, and last up, this is the shortest meeting I think I've ever attended in this building, is item 8F, and it was to designate an official voting delegate and alternate to the TASB Delegate Assembly. Dr. Gutierrez, I'll let you take this one.
So, due to continued COVID concerns, we will not have any trustees attending TASB this year. Therefore, there will not be any representation. So, we are not bringing forward this item. There will be no action on it as a result of there not being anyone in attendance.
So there's no action, no reason for a vote. Last up, we have any board comments or requests? No. I hear a motion to adjourn.
Like I said earlier, I would like to have some sort of a discussion on the status of Erskine.
All right, Mr. Ruth, okay. All right. Anything else? Yes, sir?
Just had a comment in general for the students and staff to, and highly encouraging to wear the mask. I mean, this has been doing a good job. I know we have some COVID numbers, but this is just a constant battle, so just a reminder.
And we're only 7 days in, right? All right, do I hear a motion to adjourn, Mr. Amador? Do I hear a second? I'll second it. All in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed, same sign. It is 7:20.